I'm officially kicking off Dollar Tree Christmas DIYs in today's video. Hello everyone, if you guys are new, my name's Liz. For today's video, I have 30 Dollar Tree Christmas DIYs in this huge mega video. It's just jam-packed full of Dollar Tree Christmas decor. Take Dollar Tree items, turn them into high-end or really fun and gorgeous Christmas decor pieces that I think you guys are gonna love. I have some brand new ones and I have a ton of my old favorites from last year and the year before, all jam-packed into one video. So without further ado, let's jump into our first Dollar Tree DIY. For this DIY, we are going to take 2 of these Dollar Tree signs and we're going to make a larger sign. So what you want to do is take some popsicle sticks and hot glue these together on the back, making sure that you're pushing the signs together as the hot glue dries so everything is nice and, you know, squished together, tight together. You want to make sure they are as close together as you can get them. Now I'm going to take some wood filler and fill in those holes on the sides where the hangers were, and then throughout that middle. I wanted that to be a little bit more smooth and I just waited for that to dry, sanded it down. Now I'm going in with my Waverly chalk paint in Elephant and I'm going to give the entire sign one good coat. Once that's done, I'm going to take a larger brush and do some dry brushing with some Waverly chalk paint in white. So I'm just going to dab my brush in the paint, dab off the excess, try to get the majority of that paint off of the brush, and then just lightly go back and forth on my sign. And then to give it even more of a distressing, I'm just taking some sandpaper and running that along the entire sign just to kind of smooth out any harsh lines. Next, I'm going to take my surface wax from COUTURE and I'm going to wax my entire surface. This is to help prevent any bleeding from when I'm using my COUTURE transfers, especially when you're using items that are more porous. You want to wax those so that you're not, like I said, not getting any bleeding. It just personally helps me. I know lots of people who don't use it, but I just find it super helpful. I'm going to take this COUTURE transfer. This one was one of my favorites that they came out with this year. I just thought it was so gorgeous. I loved the trees and the scripty font. It just spoke to me. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that down onto my surface. I'm going to start with the trees and the snow at the bottom. I'm not going to do the words right where it's at on here. I'm going to move the words up a little bit. So I added some washi tape to the words so that I'm not accidentally getting any chalk paste on there, but I'm using this really pretty green. The name escapes me, but I'll have the name listed down below in my description box so that if you're looking for it, you can find it. I'm just going to add that on with my squeegee and then I'll lift my transfer up. I'll use my heat gun and let those trees dry, and then I'll lay my transfer back down. I'll go in with the bright white chalk paste and I'll do the snow on the ground and all the snowflakes around the transfer. Now I'm going to move on to the words. So I'm just moving my transfer up and to the left, as far left as I can possibly get it. And then I'm going to take my bright white chalk paste and go over all of the words. And then I will go over all the little snowflakes again so that I can have even more snowflakes on my sign. And just a tip, I know I've mentioned this before, but if you are a little bit slower at this, one thing that you can do is pull the transfer as you're going. So the parts that you've chalked first, to prevent them from drying to the transfer, just start pulling it as you're going. And this will help prevent any chalk paste from drying to your transfer and then it not peeling up correctly. That's just what I do because I am a little bit of a slower chalker and I just find it super helpful for these larger pieces. Next, I have a truck that I want to use and I want it to look like there's a tree in the back of the truck. So I'm just taking that transfer again, kind of figuring out where I need it to be. I'm going to stick it down on there and then I'm going to use that same green chalk paste and I'm just going to go over that tree. Next, I wanted my trees to look like they had snow on them, so I'm just taking a really fine and detailed paintbrush and I'm going around the tops of the trees and just adding a little bit more detail. I wanted them to pop out a little bit more, and then I thought that it looked really cute because it looks like they have snow on top of them, so I thought that was really fun. And then I have this MDF truck that you can actually get at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use my Dixie Belle rusty nail chalk paint on it, and I'm just going to paint the truck body in this color. I'm going to use my Waverly chalk paint in truffle for the bed of the truck, and then my chalk paint from Waverly in ink for the wheels. I gave it just a little bit of a distressing using a chip brush and some Waverly Wax and Antique. I just lightly went over the entire truck, even the wheels and the bed of the truck. And then to make it look like it has been driving in the snow, I just took some white chalk paint and went around the edges of the wheels just to make it look like, you know, it'd been driving through a little forest and had, you know, snow all over its tires. And then lastly, I'm gonna just hot glue this truck to my sign, and that is it for this DIY. I think this one turned out so much fun. I love the trees and I love the pop of white on all the trees. I just think that it makes the sign look so cute. For this DIY, I'm going to grab this house sign from the Dollar Tree. It says all hearts come home for Christmas, which I do think is really cute, but I wanted to give it a little bit of a makeover. So what I'm going to do is take these staples that are in the back. I'm just using a flathead screwdriver, and I'm going to pop those out and pull them out with my pliers so that I can get the little roof off the front easier. And I'm just taking that flathead screwdriver and prying it between the sign and the roof, and I'm just going to take that off, and then I'm going to paint the back of the sign. So the back is now going to become the front, and you can always use some craft paper to cover up the back. That's what I did to give it more of a finished look, and then you're also protecting your surface from all the glitter that is on the front. And I just gave this 2 good coats of that white chalk paint, and then for the chimney I'm using my Waverly chalk paint in Elephant. Next, I'm going to add some wood glue super glue to the roof line, and then I'll add that little roof piece right back on top where it was, but on the other side. I'm going to add my surface wax to my entire piece, just using a little cloth and going in circular motions. You want to really work this in. And then I'm going to grab this Home for the Holidays transfer. COUTURE had this done in a picture on one of their houses that they sell, and I wanted to try to recreate it using Dollar Tree items. So I grabbed the Home for the Holidays, and I'm going to use I believe it's called the Shimmer Crimson, but again, I'll leave it down in my description box just in case that I'm wrong. But this is a shimmer paste that is so pretty, so I'm going to cover the entire words in that, peel that up, and then I'll use the checkered pattern on the bottom. I don't know exactly what this pattern is called. I don't want to say buffalo check. It's more like a woven checkered type look. I don't know. I think it's really fun though, and it's really pretty when you peel it up. I just think it looks gorgeous. So I just added my chalk paint in black on there. And then I'm going to make a little transition piece between the pattern and the white. I'm just going to take this ribbon from the Dollar Tree, hot glue it around the back. And then I'm also going to make a bow out of the same ribbon, just a super simple shoelace type bow. And then I also have these berry ties. I don't remember where I got them. I want to say Hobby Lobby, but I just took a couple of those, tied them together, hot glued my bow right on top. And that is it for this DIY. Popping in here really quickly, if you guys didn't know, I make and sell wooden craft kits. I'll leave my website linked down below if you guys want to check them out. I will be coming out with Christmas craft kits starting in October, so keep your eyes peeled, along with a ton of fun Christmas paper crafts and scrapbook paper, stencils, all the fun papering things will be launching in October. So keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, you can check my website out at www.moorevinyldecals.com. Now let's go ahead and jump into our next DIY. I got this gnome for the holidays sign from, like I said, the Dollar Tree, but I just got it for the gnome alone. I thought he was super cute, but I wanted to give him a little bit of a makeover, so I started off by taking off his nose, and I was going to sand the glitter off of his beard, and then it ripped the paper when I took his nose off, so then I just ended up taking the paper off, and then it just turned into a bigger mess than I thought it was going to, so I decided to flip him over onto the back, and I am just basically freehanding the rest of his beard. It actually took me quite a while to do that. I am not a very good artist when it comes to freehanding things, so I did look up pictures online, and then I just kind of tried my best to get it to match what I was seeing. So I just took my time with some white chalk paint to go around all those lines that I freehanded, and I am just using the white chalk paint from Waverly. And then for the pants and feet and the hat, I am going in with Waverly chalk paint in lacquer. So again, I just took my time on a small detailed brush to go around the beard with the red, and then same with the top of his hat. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't making any big mistakes. And then I also like that you can kind of still see the pencil on the beard. I feel like it gives it more detail, kind of makes it pop a little bit more, if that makes sense. So a little happy accident is basically what that turned out to be. And then I did take some steel chalk paint from Waverly, and I just used it on this little detailed brush, and I'm just kind of giving him a little bit more detail to his beard, kind of, you know, how a beard isn't just plain white, you know, you got little gray hairs in there too. So that's what I did with that, just to give him a little bit more definition. And then after I was done with that, I took my sandpaper and I am roughing this guy up. I am going to go around all of the edges. I'm also going to go throughout the entire gnome itself, just to give him a very rustic look, very scratched up and you know, old kind of looking. So I'm just taking the nose, hot gluing it right back on there, and then I'm just going to do the same thing with the little pom-pom that was on the end of his hat, and I'm just going to hot glue that right back onto the little gnome. And then after I'm done with that, I'm going to take these planks that I got from the Dollar Tree. They come in a 6-pack, and I took 3 of them. I'm going to basically stain them in the Waverly wax in antique. I love using this as a stain, and I feel like it turns out super pretty. So that is what I'm doing here with all 3 planks, just wiping on the stain wax, whatever you want to call it, with a brush, and then wiping off the excess with a paper towel. And then for the frame, I am going to use a stretched canvas. I already had taken the canvas off of this frame previously, so I just grabbed it to use it. I'm going to paint it in my white Waverly chalk paint, and I'm not doing, you know, a super great job at painting. Basically just, you know, giving it a one good coat is really all it needed. And then after I'm done with that, I'm also going to take that Waverly wax paint, Waverly wax, in antique, whatever you want to call it. I having issues talking throughout all of my videos, so just, you know, ignore that fact. But I'm just gonna go through and basically give it a little bit of a rustic look, dry brushing on there, making sure to hit all of the sides and corners really well, and then I just kind of dry brushed around the rest of it. And then I'm also taking my sandpaper to this as well. I wanted to make sure I got those corners nice and sandpapered. Whatever you want to call it. I wanted the natural grain of the wood to show through. So I just took my sandpaper, kind of blended the wax in with the white paint. And then now I'm going to take some hot glue sticks and glue all these planks together. Just 2 on the back where the seam is was enough to make these stay. And if you have some issues, make sure you're just getting that hot glue on both sides of the planks. So after I'm done with that, I'm going to hot glue a little line around the planks, and I'm going to set the frame right on top. Make yourself a cute little sign. And then I'm going to take my gnome and put him right in the center of that. And that is it. And for this next project, you are going to take some white poster that you can get from the Dollar Tree. You can get them for 50 cents a piece, and you are going to make a little cone. I have seen these little trees at all the stores. I've seen other people do DIYs, and I wanted to make my own because I thought they were so stinking cute. So you're just going to make yourself a little cone. You're going to cut the bottom so that it sits flat. Now I got this jute rope from Joann's, but you can get this from the Dollar Tree as well. They come, I believe, in a 9-foot roll. And I'm going to hot glue it all the way around the bottom of the cone, and then I'm going to start wrapping it around the cone itself. You don't have to hot glue the entire thing. You can do a little hot glue and then start wrapping, and then a little hot glue and then wrapping. And it gets easier to do that as you go. And I just wrapped this around the entire cone. When I got to the top, I basically just kept wrapping it around, stuck some hot glue down in that middle, and then just pushed the rope down into the middle. After I'm done that, I'm going to take these little berries that you can get from Hobby Lobby. I know they also have some at Walmart, but I love these because they were sparkly. And I'm just going to wrap that around my tree and hot glue that in place. And then I'm going to take some more ribbon that I got from Walmart. This is the same ribbon as the previous project, but just in a different color. And I'm going to make the exact same bow that I made in that other project, just taking a piece and making it into a loop, and then making my tails and then tying it around with some twine. And I am going to hot glue that to the top of my tree. DIY, I'm going to take Dollar Tree's wood round signs. I'm going to take my Dixie Belle paint in dusty blue. This was the first time I've used this, and I am obsessed with this color. I think this is so pretty for winter. So I always have Dixie Belle linked in my description box if you guys ever want to try them. I think that their paint is super amazing, and I only had to do 1 coat of paint for this entire sign. The coverage is just phenomenal, so I will leave that color in my description box and a link so that you guys can find it easily, because I think This is just the perfect color for winter. Super, super pretty. And then I'm going to go in with my COUTURE Hello Winter transfer set. I'm only going to use the hello and then all of the little snowflakes. I just cut those into their little pieces. And then I'm going to use the shimmery white chalk paste to go with it because who doesn't love a little glitter in their snowflakes? I thought it was super cute. So all I'm going to do is take my transfers and apply the chalk paste on top of it. And then I just repeated this multiple times with each size of my snowflakes. They came in 3 different sizes, and then they also had kind of like falling snow almost. So I used those transfers on there as well. And I just kind of did this randomly, really just however I thought that it was going to look nice. You don't have to do it in a specific pattern. I just put them on just randomly all over my sign just to make it look all nice and snowflakey and like, you know, snowflakes falling from the sky. I thought it turned out really, really cute. If you're ever interested in COUTURE, I always have them linked in my description box. I am a designer with them, and I would not highly recommend them if I was not obsessed with them. I just think it makes my DIYs look so much more high-end, and I just love them. So I always have that linked in my description box. They also have a Club Couture subscription box for $20 a month. If you haven't ever tried them, I think that's a perfect way to kind of get your feet wet and see if you like them or not. Then I'm going to take that Hello transfer and I'm going to put it on there, and I'm going to use a gray colored chalk base for this. Now, it didn't give me enough contrast as I was hoping for. I didn't want to do white because I didn't want the snowflakes and, you know, the hello to blend into each other. So I wanted to do a different color. I chose this really pretty gray, but again, it didn't give me enough contrast against the dusty blue. So what I ended up doing was taking a white paint pen and just outlining that hello, and I think that turned out really, really cute. So I just went through it probably twice, made sure they dried in between coats, and then traced out each letter individually. Now to give it kind of just that finishing last touch on there, I'm just going to take a black paint pen and I'm just going to do a squiggle and a dot and then a squiggle and a dot, and I just did this all around my sign. I just thought it gave it a little extra touch. Now I'm going to take some burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree and I'm just going to make a simple bow. All I do is just fold over a piece, decide how big I want my bow to be, cut that off, and then measure out how long I want my tails to be. I do hot glue the bow portion together to make a little loop. You don't necessarily have to do that, but that's just something I like doing. And then I'm going to take my loop, put it on top of my tails, take some twine, and then just tie it all together. You're just going to scrunch it all up in the middle. Do a double knot. I like to wrap my twine around the middle of my bow so it gives it a nice thick middle, and then double knot it in the back again. And then I'm just going to hot glue that to the top middle portion of my sign. And then I wanted my bow to have a little bit more 3D effect to it. So I kind of pushed up the tails a little bit and hot glued them down to my sign just so that there was a little bump in the tails, if that makes sense. You'll see what I mean when I'm kind of showing how it turned out, but I just wanted those tails to look a little bit more 3D. And then I wanted to layer my bows. So I took this ribbon from the Dollar Tree, this lace one, and I just tied a really simple bow with it. And I'm just going to hot glue that right on top of my burlap bow. And then I will dovetail the ends for both the burlap and the lace ribbon. And then I just wanted to make sure that the lace ribbon was going to stay in place. So I just added a little dot of hot glue and hot glued the very bottom of the ribbon down to the bottom of the burlap bow. And then that is it for the bows. I'm going to work on the hanger. I'm just going to take some twine and some wood beads that I purchased off of Amazon. So I put about 22 beads on there. And then I am going to just string those through the holes that were already on the sign, tie a couple double knots in the back for each side. And And that's all you got to do for this DIY. I think this turned out so cute. It would be really adorable on a door or just even hanging in your home. I just think this one is perfect for winter. So for this next project, you're going to grab these 2 wooden tags from the Dollar Tree. Obviously, they do not have the 4th of July ones anymore, but they do have lots and lots of Christmas ones. Typically, they always have some sort of tag-shaped sign there. So I just took 2 of these, cut off the twine hangers, and then started painting them. So I'm going to paint one of them in my Waverly chalk paint in white, and then the other one I'm going to paint in the Waverly chalk paint in steel. I took some of this wired twine that you can also get from the Dollar Tree and some of these wooden beads, and I began stringing these on there. I wanted to make a little snowman, so I'm going to take the head of the snowman, and he's going to have 10 beads on that one. The middle section will have 14 beads, and the bottom section will have 18 beads. And I just twisted the twine at the top to finish it off and then cut off any excess to make it look more like a snowman. I took that same ribbon from the previous project and I hot glued the head and the middle part of the body together. I took the ribbon and wrapped it around the middle of those and gave him a cute little ribbon scarf. I then began just hot gluing it straight to the sign. And I hot glued his little scarf down so it would stay in place. For the other sign, I started making some stripes with some painter's tape. I did one larger stripe and one smaller stripe on the right side, and then I also did the exact same thing to the bottom. Since the snowman tag will be overlapping this tag, I didn't need to worry about doing the stripes to the other side. So you're just going to follow those exact steps on the bottom. And then I decided to distress it just a little bit, so I went around the edges of both of the signs just to give it more of a weathered and rustic look. And then I felt like my snowman was missing something, so I found these buttons and I painted them black. I'm going to hot glue those down to his little body. I'm going to add some hot glue to the back of the snowman sign, and I'm going to hot glue that down, making sure that the 2 holes in each sign are overlapping. I cut out this Let It Snow decal from my CRICUT, and I'm going to add this to the bottom portion of the bottom sign. I added some nautical rope. I just strung it through the back of the signs, tied a big knot, and then cut off the excess. I got this ribbon from Hobby Lobby. I thought it was super adorable, so I'm going to cut off a little piece to make a loop. I'm going to hot glue that loop together, and then I'm going to cut off another piece for the tails. I'm going to bunch them together and wrap some twine around it, tying a knot, and hot glue that down. And then I'm also going to hot glue the tails down to the side and the top of the sign. DIY. These are little trees that you can get from the Dollar Tree. They have stakes on them for your yard, and I thought they were such a cute shape, so I decided to pick some of these up, and I'm going to go ahead and remove all the glitter using a heavy grit sandpaper. I'm going to remove that stake, and I'm going to take these beads that I got off of Amazon, and I'm going to start cutting them in half. I have seen so many pieces where beads are outlining the trees, especially at Hobby Lobby. I've seen several trees like that, so I decided to make one on my own. So I'm just taking my miter shears and cutting these right in half. They cut super easy. I hardly had to apply any pressure at all. And then I'm just going to begin hot gluing them around my tree, just outlining it. Took a little bit of time, but it wasn't hard to do at all. I just had my hot glue gun and I just basically outlined the entire tree. And then I decided to paint this white. So one thing I would mention is it's probably a lot easier if you paint this white before you put the beads on, and then you're not having to try to get into all the little crevices of each little tiny bead to try to cover up that green. So don't follow what I'm doing. Follow what I'm saying. Paint the tree white first, at least one coat, and then put your beads on after that. And then I took my Waverly chalk paint in Truffle and I painted the star and the stem in that color. And then I went through and slightly distressed the beads, dry brushed them with that same Truffle paint. I love the way it makes the beads pop off of the tree. I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. And then I'm taking some of these tumbling tower blocks that you can get from the Dollar Tree and I'm making a little stand with them. So I am just hot gluing two together in a set of two, painting that with my Waverly chalk paint in Truffle just to match the trunk of the tree. And I am just hot gluing one set on the front and one set on the back. Like I said, it just makes a cute little stand so that your tree can stand up right. After I'm done that, I'm going to take my steel chalk paint from Waverly and I'm taking these two little bells that I got in a pack from the Dollar Tree and I am just kind of dabbing this on there. I wanted the shininess of the bells to go down, make them look a little bit more rustic. And I'm going to take some twine and make myself a little bow. I just take this around 2 fingers, loop it around about 4 times, tie a knot with some jute in the middle, and that's it. It's so easy to make little twine bows like this, and I think they are so cute. After I get that all tied, I'm going to take my little bells and I'm going to string them onto some of the tails that were on the bow, and I'm going to hang one a little bit lower and then the other one a little bit higher so that they fell at different lengths. And then I'm just going to hot glue that right to the tree. And I thought this was so stinking cute, especially with the long tails of the bow and the little bells. I absolutely love how this project turned out. For this DIY, I'm going to take one of these chalkboard signs that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I have seen a couple different sizes in this style, which I think is really fun. I'm going to start by removing the jute hanger from the top, and then I'm going to take my Waverly Wax and Antique, and I'm just going to use that as a stain for the wood border at the top. And then I'm going to go in with this Snuggle Weather COUTURE transfer that I think is just adorable. I'm going to fuzz it on up several times, and then I'm going to center it on top of my little chalkboard, and this turned out so well. I thought this was so stinking cute. So I'm going to use my chalk paste, and I believe this is in the color Eucalyptus. It's really pretty. I just love this color so much. So I just covered the entire thing in this color, and then I'm going to pull up my transfer. I'm going to make sure that I wash it so that I can use this again because I thought this transfer was so stinking cute. And then to finish off, I'm just going to put another jute hanger through the holes at the top. And then I have this pre-made bow that I got in a pack from Walmart. I'm just going to add some hot glue, put it in the middle of my sign, and that's it for this DIY. For this DIY, we are going to take one of these sled signs from the Dollar Tree. I think this is so cute as it is, but I wanted to give it a little makeover. So I'm going to start by removing the back, which I have learned are now called runners. Thank you to my subscribers. But I am going to remove those. You don't technically have to do that, but it would just be easier for me with the project that I'm doing to take them off. I'm going to grab one of these bags that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, and I am going to take the top portion of the sled and I am going to trace around the bag. I just cut the front of the bag off and then laid my sled piece down and then traced around it and cut it out. Now I'm just going to use a glue stick to attach this. Now because this bag is a lot thicker, you probably want to use something a little stronger than a glue stick. I was having some issues keeping the sides stuck down, so some Mod Podge. And I feel like since, again, this material is a lot thicker, that you shouldn't have too many issues with the material kind of wrinkling up, which is why I steer away from Mod Podge a lot of the time, but I'm trying to figure it out. You guys have given me lots of good tips and tricks. But for this, I just put my glue stick down on there. And then for the runner part, I'm going to go through with some Waverly chalk paint. And I gave the parts that you're going to see a good 2 to 3 coats to make sure that it's all nice and covered up. Made sure that that was completely dry. And then I'm going to add some hot glue to the sides. And then I'm going to stick my top portion of my sled right back down like it was before. Now I'm going to take a couple pieces of a Christmas pick that I believe I got from Hobby Lobby. I just have a huge stash of Christmas picks and I'm tearing them all apart, so that's what I did. I'm just going to cut a couple pieces off of a pick and hot glue them down to the top of the sled. Now I wanted a bow, but I didn't really want a ribbon bow for this, so I'm going to grab some cream colored twine and I'm going to make a bow by holding the twine in between my thumb and index finger, and I am going to wrap it around just like that a good maybe 10 to 15 times. I'll cut the ends off so that the tails are nice and long, and then I'll grab an excess piece of twine. I'll wrap it around the middle, and then I'm going to tie a knot right there so everything stays in place. And then I wanted the middle to be a little bit thicker, so I did take that twine from the middle and I wrapped it around the bow several times going both ways, and then I just tied those in a double knot, and then all I'm going to do is hot glue it down to the middle. And then I wanted to add a little bit more detail to my greenery at the top. So I took these white berries that were a part of another pick and I just started hot gluing them down to the greenery. And then last but not least, I'm going to take some nautical rope. I pulled it apart into a different section so that it was smaller because the full nautical rope piece would not fit inside of there. So I just thread that through the 2 holes at the top. I tie a double knot on each side, and this is just going to be the little hanger for the sled. And that is it. I think this DIY turned out super cute, and it only cost me maybe a little over $2. I'm going to take a couple of these wooden signs that you can get from the Dollar Tree. These are the larger ones. I want to say that they're the 18-inch ones, but don't quote me on it. So I'm just going to take 2 of them and I'm going to attach them together just with some large popsicle sticks that I got from Walmart. I'm just going to cut those in half and then I'm just going to hot glue them down to the back of my sign so that that is all nice and sturdy. Now, I found this really pretty wallpaper, sticky wallpaper sheets from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use this as my background for the sign. So I just peel one of them up, and I'm just going to lay that down on top of my sign. Now, you'll see I have some extra that I need to put on there as well. So I just took a second piece and added that to the bottom and just cut off the rest. And then I just used my X-Acto knife to get all the little bits and ends off of my sign. I'm going to take 3 of these wooden arrows from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use them as houses for this DIY. But first, I'm going to remove the twine, and I am going to use some wood filler for all of the holes. And then I'm also going to take 3 snowflakes. 2 of them are going to look the same. 1 of them is going to be different. The 2 that are the same are from Dollar Tree. The one that is different is from Hobby Lobby. Now I'm going to take those 2 that are the same after I filled in the holes with wood filler for those as well. And I'm going to paint them in that same dusty blue from Dixie Belle that we painted the first sign in. So I'll paint those 2 in that Dixie Belle color. And then I'm also going to paint one of the houses in that Dixie Belle color as well. Once all of those are painted in that beautiful dusty blue color, I'm going to take the other 2 houses and the last snowflake, and I'm going to paint that in my Waverly chalk paint and plaster. And I just did 1 coat for all of today's projects. Once I have everything painted and everything is dry, I'm going to hot glue my houses to my sign. I just do my 2 plaster color ones first, make sure that those are good, and then I do my middle one last. Once the houses have been glued down, I'm going to glue down my snowflakes. So I am going to do the blue snowflakes on the cream colored houses and the cream colored snowflake on the blue house. So I just thought this was super, super cute. I'm going to get these all nice and attached to each other. And then I felt like it still needed a little something. So I'm going to take these rub-on transfers from the Dollar Tree and I'm going to cut out the letters to say Snowflake Kisses. And I just put that on the bottom of each house. So snow will be on one, flake will be on the other, kisses will be on the last one. And I just tried to line these up and space these out as best as I possibly could. I feel like it's nearly impossible to get these totally perfect, but that is 100% okay. I felt like it still turned out really, really cute. So let me know what you think. You're gonna do this for all 3 of your houses. I just used the back of a CRICUT tool to rub my transfer to my house, remove the plastic carrier sheet, and that is it for this DIY. DIY, I'm going to take this Enjoy the Little Things calendar from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to take the December one that says Let It Snow, and I thought this would be perfect for this kind of winter wonderland theme I had going on here. I'm going to take one of these shadow boxes, again from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to remove the hanger from the back, the little cat piece that was on the front, and then I'm going to take that Let It Snow calendar piece. I drew some lines that were a little bit larger than the Let It Snow kind of gold frame box that you see there. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to cut this out too small, so I cut it out a little bit bigger. I'm going to pop the backing out of the frame from the sign, and then I'm going to use a glue stick to adhere my paper down. Now I did cut out a piece of white cardstock and glued that down first because the calendar is pretty thin. I didn't want those little paws kind of peeking through the calendar piece. So I glued the cardstock down, and then I glued the calendar piece down to the cardstock. And then I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife to clean up all the edges from where I cut it out a little bit bigger than the square. Now I'm going to just adhere it back to my frame using some hot glue in the corners. And that's it for this DIY. You have a super cute and simple Let It Snow sign. For this DIY, I am going to take one of these long planks of wood that you can now get at the Dollar Tree and one of these 1x2 pieces of wood that you can also get at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by removing the twine hanger from the top, and then I'm going to take some wood filler and fill in those holes at the top of my plank piece. Now I am going to kind of measure out where I want my white paint to go because this is going to be a rustic snowman. And so I just kind of measured how far down I want his face to be and his hat to be. And I'm going to take some Waverly white chalk paint and I'm just going to go over the bottom half with just one coat of paint. I don't mind if there are pieces kind of peeking through of that natural wood because I wanted this to be more rustic. And then for the top half, I am going to go in with my Waverly chalk paint in black. Now for the brim part of the hat for the snowman with that 1x2 wood piece, I'm just going to take some Waverly Wax and Antique and I just give the front and all the sides a really good coat. Next, for the carrot nose, I'm going to take one of these tall pillar candles from the Dollar Tree. I've done this with a couple candles before in the past, and I think that they all turned out really fun. So I'm just going to cut off a piece towards the top with the top of the candle as the point of the nose. And I just trimmed it down to however big that I wanted the carrot nose to be. And then I'm going to take a utility knife and I'm just going to go through and rough the candle up. I'm going to go and shave off all the sides so it's not so perfect and round looking. I'm going to give it a whole bunch of indents all over so it just looks like it's been through some days. So that it doesn't look so perfect and it looks like a carrot where it has all the indents and the scratches and everything like that. I'm just going to go through and do that with the utility knife. Once I've got that all done, I'm going to take some pumpkin chalk paint from Waverly and I'm going to give the nose a good 2 coats. After that's dry, I'm going to take my Waverly Wax and Antique and I'm going to make the nose look a little dirty and make sure that it gets in all the cracks and crevices. And I just took a paper towel and just kind of rubbed this all over the nose. And then to assemble my pieces, I'm just going to take some hot glue. I'm going to add my hat on, just add a tilt. And then I'm going to take this scarf from the Dollar Tree, which is actually perfect for this DIY. And I'm going to cut a piece down at the bottom. I'm going to make sure that I get those little fringy ends in there. And I just went maybe halfway up the scarf and then I cut that piece off and that's what I'm going to use for the scarf around the snowman. So I'm just going to take my scarf piece, wrap it around the snowman, and then I tie a double knot and I hide away that other second end just by tucking it up and underneath the scarf. And then I trim down the fringe at the end so it's not too long. And then lastly, I'm just going to hot glue his nose in place and you have this adorable rustic snowman. Project, this is a Dollar Tree DIY, so I just grabbed a pack of these gift boxes that you can get from the Dollar Tree, and I grabbed a stretch canvas that you can also get from the Dollar Tree. I just removed the canvas from the frame. You can remove the staples, but I wasn't too worried about that just because you weren't going to see them anyways. I painted my frame in that same brown stain that you can get from Craftsmart. I picked mine up from Michael's, and I absolutely love this stain because it dries fast and it doesn't have any kind of smell. I took my Waverly chalk paint and plaster and I just dry brushed over the entire frame. After that, I just kind of measured out where I wanted my frame to go on the sign, and I did have to trim the box down a little bit. And then I just took some hot glue all over my frame and then lined it up to where I wanted it to be on the little sign and just pressed that down. Now, to clean up the back a little bit, I wanted to add the canvas to the back. It just makes it look a little bit more clean and finished. So I just hot glued a piece of canvas all around to the back of it and then cut off the excess. And it just looks so much better. You wouldn't even be able to tell that it was a gift box that I used for the sign. Now, I took these picks that I got from Walmart and I just cut this entire thing up. I did tie them together using a wire and some twine just to give it something extra for it to be able to stick down to the sign with the hot glue. And then I just made another little twine bow, wrapping it around my fingers about 4 or 5 times, cutting that off, and then taking another piece of twine and tying a knot in the middle. And I just hot glued that down to the middle of the greenery, cut off the excess twine, and that is it.
Come joining us all, the feeling is here today. Come on now, let's go, caroling through the snow all day.
For this DIY, I'm going to take 2 of these trucks that I found at the Dollar Tree, and then I'm going to take one of their crates that you can get at the Dollar Tree. Normally, there are 3 levels to this, but I did remove 2 of the sides and then cut down the sides so that it was just shorter so that I could fit it on my truck. So I just took it out to the garage and cut that down with my saw so the crate was smaller. And then I'm going to take my Dixie Belle chalk paint in Barn Red, and I'm going to paint both of my trucks in this color besides the wheels and besides the bed of the truck. The wheels I'm going to paint black, and then the bed of the truck I'm just going to leave as is because I did like that brown color. Kind of made it look like it was wood on the bed of the truck. And then for the crate, I'll also paint that with the same red chalk paint. And then once those are all painted and dried, I'm going to take some hot glue and that crate, and I'm just going to hot glue it down to the back of my truck. And then I'll attach the other truck to the other side of the crate. And then I'm going to fill the crate with some floral foam and some styrofoam circles because I didn't have any more floral foam. That's all that I had left, so I definitely need to go get some more. I'm just going to put that in for some picks that we're going to use a little bit later. Once that's in there, I'm going to take my COUTURE transfers. These are the Christmas minis, and I'm going to use the little peppermint one with the little peppermint candies on there. I'm just going to cut that out. I am going to fuzz my transfer so it's not too sticky on my project. So just fuzz and fuzz and fuzz. And then I'll just align that on the truck door. And then I'm going to use my shimmery white chalk paste for this one. And I'm just going to go over all the little candies. I'll remove my transfer, make sure I wash it so I can use it again later. And look how cute those little peppermints are on the front of my truck. I just think they're really, really cute. Now I'm going to go in with several different Christmas type picks that I had in my stash. These are honestly from all over the place. Hobby Lobby, Joann's, Michael's. I just cut up a whole bunch of different picks. I really liked the pine tree type picks, so I stuck a lot of those in there. And then I found these really cute large berries from the Dollar Tree. I took a pack of those and I just started placing them throughout my little arrangement, all over, really just wherever I thought that they would look nice. There's no rhyme or reason to how I did it. I just kind of started putting the berries all over in my arrangement. Once I have all of those in there, I actually found these little lollipop picks at Joann's. They were 99 cents plus on sale, and I just thought that these were so cute. So I grabbed 2 of them and I cut them all apart and I stuck them in my arrangement. And that's all you got to do for this DIY. I think this turned out so adorable, and it is my absolute favorite out of all of my peppermint DIYs today. DIY, I'm going to take 2 tag signs that you can get from the Dollar Tree. It doesn't have to be the summer ones. It can be really about anything. They always have these shapes out in signs for every season. And then I'm going to take this Dollar Tree vinyl paper, and it's this pretty buffalo check, which I thought was absolutely perfect. If you can't find this, you could also use buffalo check scrapbook paper, but I just thought this was perfect for this DIY, so I just stuck one of my tags down on top of my vinyl and then traced around it, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. Once it's all cut out, I'm going to go ahead and remove the backing, and then I'm just going to stick my vinyl to the back of my sign. And then any excess that's left over, I'm just going to take my X-Acto knife and trim up the ends. Now for my other tag sign, I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint in silver lining, and I just gave it probably about 2 good coats. I wanted to make sure everything was nice and covered up. Once that's drying, I'm going to take these little ice skates that I got from the Dollar Tree. They're really, really cute. They come in a pack of 2, but the only issue I had is that they are going opposite directions, and I wanted them to face the same way. So I'm going to have to flip one of them over onto the back. I wanted to make sure that the back was nice and flush to the sign, so I am removing one of the snowflakes from the ice skate so that I don't have it only hanging on by that piece, if that makes sense. And then I'm going to go through and paint both of the ice skates white. I just gave it 1 good coat of white Waverly chalk paint, and then I'm going to paint the snowflake and the blades of the skates in black. And again, because we're using the back portion of the other ice skate, I just painted the whole thing white and then the blades black, and then obviously I don't have a snowflake to worry about painting for that one. And then I'm just going to glue my ice skates together, again, making sure they're going the same way because, you know, you've painted the back of the other one. You're going to just hot glue them together, and I just kind of made sure that the holes at the top matched up to each other. And then I'm just going to hot glue the entire thing down to my sign. I'm going to take a piece of burlap ribbon, and I'm just going to hot glue this around the back, making sure that I'm pulling nice and tight so that my ribbon has no bumps or waves at the front. Everything is nice and tight to the sign. And then I'm going to take a piece of some buffalo check ribbon, but I needed to make sure that it was smaller than the burlap ribbon that I just put down. So I did cut the buffalo check ribbon down a bit, and then I'm just going to hot glue this right on top of the burlap ribbon. Once that's on there, I'm going to assemble my two signs together. I just took some hot glue and I just placed this right on top of my buffalo check sign. Now I'm going to take a piece of twine for the bow at the top of the ice skate. I just wrapped some twine around my thumb and index finger, and then I'm just going to take an excess piece of twine around the middle, tie a double knot, and then hot glue the bow to the top of my ice skate. Now for the top of this sign, I am going to cut down some ribbon and I am going to make a big burlap bow. So the way that I do this, which there's probably an easier way, but this is just my take. I'm going to take a piece of ribbon and hot glue the ends together, making a loop. I'm going to do that twice, but the second one is going to be slightly smaller than the first. After I have those two loops, I'm going to cut another piece for the tails. I'm just going to fold the ribbon in half, kind of figure out how long I want my tails to be, and then I will cut that off, and then I will just layer everything together. The smallest loop on top, then the biggest loop in the middle, and the tails on the bottom. I'll take a piece of twine and I will just put that on top, wrap it around the back and tie a double knot and have the ribbon all squished up in the middle. Now again, just taking a couple pieces of some excess Christmas picks that I have, I'm just going to hot glue that to the middle, and then I will hot glue my bow right to the top, and that is it for this DIY. DIY, I found inspiration off of Kirkland's, this red and blue plaid wood Christmas tree set of 2. I'm only going to make one of them, but I found these super inspiring and I knew I could make something really, really similar. So what I'm going to do is grab Dollar Tree's wood Christmas tree cutouts that they have. I'm going to grab some scrapbook paper that I got in a pack from Michael's, and I'm just going to use my trusty glue stick and add my scrapbook paper to the Christmas tree. Now, one piece of paper didn't cover the entire thing, so I decided to use 2. I just lined up the plaid stripes as best as I could so that you couldn't see the seam and it all looked nice and cohesive. I'm just going to cut that out using my X-Acto knife, and then I'm going to take a piece of wood. This actually came from the Dollar Tree, and I just cut it down so that I could use it as a stand for my tree. I'm going to stain it using my Waverly Wax and Antique, and then I'm also going to take a tumbling tower block from the Dollar Tree, and I'm also going to stain it in that exact same color. Now I'm going to do the beads on this tree a little bit different than the Kirkland's one. I'm going to use a combination of some natural wood beads and then some white and gold beads that I actually purchased off of Etsy probably about a year or so ago, probably even more than a year ago now. So I just had these in my stash. You could do whatever color beads you want. You could paint your beads. You could use some beads from the Dollar Tree. This is just what I had on hand, so this is what I decided to use. And I just did a little pattern of a small bead and then a larger bead and then that same small bead and then my white and gold bead, and then did that same pattern over again 3 times for this bottom strand of beads. And then for my top strand of beads, I did the same pattern, but I just did it twice to where I only had 2 of my gold and white beads. And then I just wrapped the strands around the tree. So I did the smaller strand at the top, and then I did the longer strand of beads at the bottom. And I just tied a double knot in the back for both of them to make sure they were nice and tight and in place. And then I'm going to take that tumbling tower piece, I'm going to add some hot glue to the back, and I will add it to the back of my tree, so then I can hot glue it to the stand. Now I'm going to take one of these metal stars that I got in a pack from Hobby Lobby. You could use any kind of star that you had. This is just one that I had big enough for this tree, and I just cut the little loop off of the top using some wire cutters, and then I just hot glue it down to the top of the tree, and this is how my Kirkland's inspired plaid tree turned out. For my next project, I'm going to take this little sign that I also got from the Dollar Tree. I was going to take the paper off and it ended up just being a little bit more of a mess than I anticipated. So I am just going to take some sandpaper and just sandpaper over the paper that was ripped, and then I'm going to paint over it with my Waverly paint in steel. And I'm just going to go over that entire thing, making sure that I got a couple good coats on there so that it would cover up the purple and it would, you know, cover up those words. And while that is drying, I'm going to take these paint stir sticks that you can get from Lowe's or Home Depot. You can get them in a pack of like 3, I believe, for $1. And I'm just going through and I'm going to use my miter shears to cut myself some pieces from this popsicle stick, from this paint stir stick. My goodness. And I am going to cut myself out 4 pieces. So this was a little difficult to do, but it wasn't too bad. You had to press it about 4 times on all 4 corners or all 4 sides. And then I'm going to take some sandpaper and sand down the edges. Now I did make sure that these were all about an inch shorter than the one before it. I wanted to make a little Christmas tree. For the top one, it was a little bit smaller than an inch in total from the other piece, if that makes sense. You can kind of see what I'm doing here. But I just wanted to use the remainder of that flat edge so then I didn't have to get out a new stir stick. And then I'm going to paint all the edges in that same steel color just so that they matched up with the sign. And then I'm going to take this scrapbook paper that I got from Hobby Lobby. I just bought them in the scrapbook packs. I did end up changing my mind on some of them, so you will see that there are a couple that I did not show. And one thing that I don't know where my footage went for it is I just took some Mod Podge and I laid it down on the stir sticks and then I laid the paper on top of it. I cut around it, waited for that to dry, and then as you can see, I'm taking my sandpaper and I am basically sanding off the excess paper. It comes off really easy when you do it this way. And then I also wanted it to give it a little bit more of a rough look, so then I also did extra sanding around the corners. This technique is super great to get off all of those leftover pieces that you couldn't get with scissors. It gives you a nice flat edge and I love it. Then I'm going to take some Mod Podge and go over the top and the sides just to make sure that that paper is nice and stuck down there so it doesn't come up later. And then with the sign, I was feeling like it just wasn't, I don't know, there was something about it that I wasn't liking. I decided to take my antique wax and go in all of the grooves and corners of the sign. I feel like this really helped the sign to look aged and rustic, and it also, I feel like, kind of blended the background to the frame, if that makes any sense. So I just took my antique wax and I went over all of the sides and the frame part, and then I also did that on the outside and to the corners just so that all kind of match and blended well together. And then after I did that, I took this little stem that you can get from the Dollar Tree in a pack of little branch stems. I took my miter shears and I just cut it in half so that I could use that as a little trunk to my Christmas tree. I hot glued that down, and then I hot glued all of my little plank Christmas tree parts in place. And there wasn't a ton of room. There was, you know, I kind of played with the idea of spacing them out a little bit or kind of make them go in opposite directions, if that makes any sense. But there wasn't a ton of room, so I decided to just, you know, make them all straight. And then I took a little star that I also got from the Dollar Tree, I believe last year, as one of those little stickers, and I just popped that right on top. And then after I'm done doing that, I'm taking this garland, this berry garland that I got from Hobby Lobby. I've used these in a couple of my videos and I absolutely love them. I think they're super pretty. So I just cut out 3 strips and then I'm just going to hot glue them in between each of my little planks just to give it a little bit more of a decorative touch, and I thought this turned out super cute. For this For this DIY, I'm going to grab one of these plaques that I got from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by painting it with my Waverly chalk paint in white, and I just made sure to give it a good 2 coats to cover up everything, and I painted the sides as well. Next, I'm going to take this COUTURE Candy Cane Co. transfers that had This Way to the Peppermint Forest. I thought this was so cute and so perfect for my peppermint DIYs. So I'm just going to cut that out. And then again, like I do with all of my COUTURE transfers, you're going to fuzz and fuzz and fuzz until it isn't too sticky. I'll center it as best as I can on top of my sign, and then I'm going to go in with my shimmery red chalk paste and I'm going to cover all of this transfer. Once I've got that on there, I will just remove my transfer, make sure to give it a good wash so I can use it again, and that's it for this DIY. This was really fast, really easy, and I love how high-end this sign looks on this Dollar Tree sign. So for this next project, I'm going to take one of these little house signs that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I just tore it apart, basically just removing the back. And then I'm going to take some of this scrapbook paper that I got from Hobby Lobby. I got this entire pack from there and I thought it was so cute. So I am just taking this basically stripe pattern. I'm not sure exactly what this pattern is called, but it is so pretty. So I wanted to use that for the back. I just traced out the back of that little house, cut it out, and then I'm going to take some glue stick and glue that down. You could use Mod Podge if you want, but I find that glue stick, Mod Podge, they both work just about the same. So I'm just going to lay that paper down on there and smooth it all out. While that is setting up, I took 2 of those cubes, again from the previous project. I painted them white, and then I'm taking this string that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I chose the red and white pattern, and I'm going to tie this around the blocks. Now you can tie them any way you want, but I just tied them like a traditional present, basically going over one side, twisting it around, and going over the other side, if that makes any sense. It's probably a lot harder to explain than to just see me do it, but I just tied it around the presents and then tied a little bow on top. Now this project isn't necessarily a how to make a tree, but I thought that this sign turned out so cute that I had to incorporate it in this video. It has a little tree in it, so you know that counts, right? And I'm just taking my glue stick again, going around the edges of the house, and then I took a little bit of hot glue just in some corners to make sure that it all holds down. And then I'm going to take one of these trees that I got from Hobby Lobby. You can also get these from the Dollar Tree. You can basically get them in any craft store, and I'm going to trim off the back so that the tree will lay flush against the sign, and I'm going to hot glue that in place. And then I'm going to take those presents and I'm also going to hot glue them to the bottom of the frame. I'm going to take this decal that I cut out, and I thought this was so stinking cute. I made a little snowflake and it had the holly berries on it, and then it had the saying, "Have yourself a merry little Christmas." I thought this was so stinking cute to put on here, so I'm just going to put this on some transfer tape and stick it right onto my sign. It also helped that The sign had stripes, so it was easy to make sure that I was getting the saying straight. And remember, if you're ever interested in any of my decals that I use in my videos, I do sell them. All you have to do is go to my Facebook or my Instagram and shoot me a message. I also will have them listed in my Facebook shop on my Facebook page. If you're interested in purchasing them directly from there, I should have those up within the next couple of days. So then I'm going to take this ribbon that I got from Walmart. I love this because it does have some wire in it, so it's really easy to manipulate. And I'm going to tie this into a bow. I'm going to basically just take a piece and make a little loop, and I hot glue that together so it is just a solid little loop. And then I cut off the tails as well, and I wanted these tails really long, and because the ribbon has a right side and a wrong side, I just take the tails and kind of loop them together so that both right sides are showing. And then I'm gonna take some twine and I'm going to tie the little bow portion and the tails together with that twine. I'm also going to use the twine to wrap around the bow and the tails a couple of times just so it has a little thicker middle of twine, and then I'm gonna let that twine hang down as well. I'm not gonna cut off the little tails of it. I wanted those to be included in the bow itself. I'm going to twist the ends of the tail so it's in a little cute twisted pattern like you can see here, and I'm just going to hot glue those down. And this is the way that my cute little tree and present sign turned out. And for this DIY, you're going to grab a tag sign from the Dollar Tree. They have some in some Christmas prints right now, so you should be able to find them. I'm going to paint this in my Waverly chalk paint in lacquer. I'm just going to do one good coat of it, and then I used my little heat gun to dry the paint so much faster than it normally would just drying on its own. I'm going to go ahead and distress my sign mostly around the edges. I wanted that wood look around the border of the sign, and then I did sand down the front of the sign quite a bit so that it would have that scratchy look to it. And then I'm going to take this burlap that I got from Hobby Lobby, I believe last year, but I know that they carry these all year long. I'm going to take that and I'm going to hot glue it down to the back. I made sure to pull tight so that the burlap was pretty tight around it. I'm going to take this buffalo check ribbon that I also got from Hobby Lobby. I know that these were out at the Dollar Tree. I don't know if it's there right now, but I know that it was there during the fall time. I'm going to put that on top of the burlap and just hot glue it down. I'm then going to take some white string. I'm going to wrap that around 3 times and tie a little tiny bow right in the center. I printed out the word Noel for my computer. I will have that as a free printable down in the description box below. And I'm going to show you how you can use this rather than use a CRICUT if you don't have a CRICUT. If you do have a CRICUT, go ahead and use that. But this is a great alternative to any of the projects that we do using a CRICUT. Take the printable and you want to scribble all over the back of it with a pencil, making sure to get everywhere where the words are, where the letters are, and then you're going to put that where you want it on your sign, and you're going to start tracing out your letters. You do want to press pretty firm to make sure that the pencil does transfer through the back. Now you could use carbon paper or transfer paper for this. I didn't have any of that, so this is what I did instead. My handwriting is not good at all, so by all means, if you have a good free hand, do that. But for me personally, that's one of the reasons why I like using my CRICUT so much, is because I can get the pretty font without trying to freehand it, because I am not a good freehander. I can barely do this method as it is. So this method works perfectly if you don't have a CRICUT. If you do though, or if you have stickers, that would work too. And you are just going to start tracing that over with whatever color that you want. I chose black. This is just a black Sharpie from the Dollar Tree. And then I will go over it with some black, with a black paint pen. Don't mind my head getting in the way. Apparently I need to see an eye doctor because I had to be so close up to this to be able to see the lines. And then you're just going to begin filling in the word with your paint pen, or you could just use paint. Whatever you have on hand is definitely going to work. And I just filled in all the letters with that black paint pen. I believe it's from the brand Sharpie, and I just got it from Walmart. After that, I'm going to take this other ribbon. I believe I got this from Walmart, and it is wired, so it is super easy to manipulate, which I love. I can make the tails curly, and I just cut out one piece to make a loop for the bow, and then I cut out another piece for the tails of the bow. I'm going to put the loop on top of the tails, and then I'm going to take some twine and I'm going to just tie them together with that. I'm going to use some hot glue and hot glue that to the top of my sign, and then I'm going to twist my tails and hot glue those down, and I absolutely love the way that this little sign turned out. You are going to grab some red pool noodles. Dollar Tree is still selling the red and green pool noodles, and I'm going to cut them down into 3 pieces, just making each one shorter than the other. So you'll have 3 pieces, all different sizes. I'm just going to start by taking some satin white ribbon, and I just measured out how much ribbon I needed just by wrapping it around each of my little candy cane pool noodle pieces, and I just did that for all 3 of them. Once I had the amount of ribbon that I needed, I'm just going to hot glue the ends to the pool noodle. I won't hot glue the entire thing because I didn't want to have bumps underneath my ribbon, so I just hot glued it at the top and at the bottom, and I did this exact same thing for each piece of my pool noodles. Just hot glued it, wrapped it around my pool noodle kind of at an angle like how a candy cane would look, and then hot glued the other end down. Next, I'm going to take all 3 of my candy cane pieces, and I'm going to take some twine. I'll wrap it around them 2 times and then tying a double knot in the back. You could also hot glue this if you wanted, but I liked the look of the twine wrapped around my candy canes. And then for just a little fun touch, I took some of this greenery that I got from Michael's, and I just took a couple pieces off and hot glued them down to the front of my little candy cane structure. And then I added one of these fake peppermints that I got from a pick from Joann's to the very top. And then with those other peppermints that come on the pick, I just hot glued one to the top of each of the other 2 peppermints. And that is it for this DIY. This turned out so cute, and I think that these would be adorable as centerpieces for a Christmas get-together. So for this next project, I'm going to take these wreath forms that you can get from the Dollar Tree. These are 8 inches and you get 2 of them for $1. I took this garland that I also got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to start wrapping this around. Now I did cut the garland down into about 3 different sections because it was getting a little difficult to try to wrap the entire thing all at once. So I would just wrap it in a section, tie it off, and then wrap the remaining sections around it. I wanted my little wreath to look flocked, so I just took some white chalk paint and I'm basically just going over the entire thing, pretty heavy handed too. You could also use some spray paint, but I was really lazy that day and didn't want to go outside to spray paint it. So I'm going to take again this buffalo check ribbon and I'm just going to start wrapping this around my wreath. No particular way of doing it, just wrapping it around. And I'm going to hot glue the ends down to the back of my wreath. I just kind of tousled it a little bit and fluffed it into the way that I wanted it. And then after that, I'm going to take this sparkly berry garland that I got from Hobby Lobby last year, and I am going to wrap this around my wreath as well, hitting those spots where the ribbon did not, so it's in between each section of ribbon. And I thought these were so perfect to match the cute little red truck ornament that I got from the Dollar Tree, since it's sparkly and there are spots on the red truck ornament that you can see right here that are sparkly as well. So I thought that the berry garland matched perfectly. Now I'm just taking my hot glue and hot gluing down my truck ornament. And then I tied a little bow with the same ribbon and hot glued that down. And that is it. I am so happy with the way that all of these little truck ornaments and DIYs turned out. For this next DIY, this little tag right here was my inspiration. I got that from Walmart and I thought it was so cute that I wanted to recreate it in a bigger version. So I'm taking this large tag sign that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to paint it the back in the white Waverly chalk paint. And after I'm done doing that, I'm going to go in with my hot heat gun that I got from Amazon. I'll have it linked down below to make sure that the paint is completely dry before I start my next step, which is I got this large ruler slash level. I use that to draw some lines on the sign, and then after I trace it just with the pencil, I did go in with my elephant chalk paint from Waverly and I just went over the lines that I had previously drawn with that paint, and then I also used that paint to distress my sign. And then I am going to take some sandpaper to fade those lines. Don't mind the remote in hand. This was my 2-year-old telling me to turn on a show. So after I'm done sanding it the way that I wanted it, I took these Christmas trees that I got from the Dollar Tree. You can get them in a pack of 5. And I just cut off the little stars on the top and sanded those rough edges down. Then I am going to take that antique wax from Waverly again to paint these trees. Again, I'm just going over it and then I will wipe off the excess with a paper towel, and I just did this for all 3 trees. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I created these decals in my CRICUT design space. These are ones that I personally made myself, so if you are interested in those, definitely let me know. You can contact me on my Facebook and my Instagram account to purchase decals that I create. So I'm just going to lay all these out. These trees were a little bit too long and I didn't want anything hanging off the edges, so I just cut off little pieces of the tree on the inside. You wouldn't even be able to tell because I'm going to have one tree on top. So I'm just going ahead and applying my decal, just putting it where I want it, smoothing it down, and then removing that transfer tape. I loved the different colors, the black and the red combined with the antique wax and the white and the distressed. I loved it all. So I'm just going to add all of my decals on here, and then once I have gotten those positioned the way that I like it, again here, another one of my children needing their doll's hair done, their little trolls. She wanted its hair done. So I had to stop to do that before I could continue. So now I'm going to just hot glue my trees down. Like I said, I'm just going to put 2 on the bottom, and then I will put 1 on top of those. And that is how that part turned out. I thought it turned out super cute. And then as far as the embellishments to the top, I got this little pick from Walmart. It was 98 cents. And I'm just going to tear it apart, cut it apart, and I'm going to position it the way that I wanted to. And I'm going to hot glue it to the top of my sign. And I took a couple of those berries and also hot glued those down. And then I took this ribbon that I believe I got this from Hobby Lobby. And I'm just going to tie a simple bow and hot glue it in the middle. And that is how that turned out. DIY, I was inspired by this peace sign from Kirkland's. It has beads on it and it was rustic. And so I wanted to try my hand at duping it as close as I could. So first I'm going to take a whole bunch of beads that I had and cut them in half using my miter shears. Now you can buy beads already cut in half beads on Amazon. I didn't have any of those on hand and it was too late to try to buy some. So I'm just using what I got. Some miter shears and some beads, and I'm just cutting them in half, and it worked perfectly fine. Now I'm also going to use this peace sign from the Dollar Tree. I thought that this was perfect. It's similar to the one from Kirkland's. Obviously this one has a little tree, but it still, you know, gets the job done. So I am just going to lay out all my half beads onto my peace sign, and I'm just going to start hot gluing each and every one of them down. Once they are all hot glued down, you can go in and paint it with some white chalk paint. I started doing that and realized how long it was going to take for me to get into every teeny tiny crevice that there was because of the beads. So I decided to take it out and spray paint it with a couple of coats of just some Rust-Oleum flat spray paint. Once I have my paint completely dry, I'm going to take my Waverly Wax and Antique, and very carefully I'm going to go around all of the edges with that, giving it that kind of border with the wax, making it look rustic. And then once I've done that, I'm just going to go over all the beads. I like how the Kirkland's one is distressed, but it's not too distressed, if that makes sense. So I'm just lightly going over all the sides and over all the beads. I'm starting off really light and then building my way up until I have it the way that I like it, but I wanted to make sure I didn't go too overboard with the distressing, so I tried to match that Kirkland's one as best as I could, and I actually think this turned out really, really cute. So for this project, some of my footage got deleted and I'm just throwing this in as a little extra bonus. So I took this piece that I got from the Dollar Tree. It was like a shadow box and I basically just took it apart. I'll try to put a picture of what it looked like previously on the screen so that you can try to see it. But I just painted the frame with plaster from Waverly. I painted the background in truffle, and then those are popsicle sticks in the background. I used the antique wax for those. So I'm taking the back part of the shadow box, and you can kind of see where it was like a little box, you know, all together. And it came apart when I was taking it out of the main part of the shadow box, and I just hot glued those together. I did cut down my popsicle sticks so that they would fit right into the shadow box, and I just hot glued all of those in place. There wasn't really much to it. I mean, I just measured it out, hot glued them down. I wish that I had the footage. That is now gone somehow. I don't know why that always happens to me, but it does. So I just thought this turned out way too cute to not show it, or else I probably wouldn't have put it in here. But I got this little truck ornament from the Dollar Tree. They came in a pack of 4, and then I'm taking the red berry garland, popping the little red berries off of there, and hot gluing them to the tree. I just felt like the tree looked a little plain, and I wanted to, you know, jazz it up a little. So I'm just hot gluing those down to the tree. And then I'm going to take this little wood round that I had. It's just a little scrap piece of wood, and I needed to give the truck a little bit of lift off of the sign. So I'm just going to hot glue the tree to the truck, and then I'm going to hot glue the little scrap wood to the back of the truck and hot glue that down. And then I'm taking this white berry garland or cream that I got from Hobby Lobby. You can get basically this color from the Dollar Tree as well. And I just made a little wreath with it. I've done a very similar project with a pumpkin for fall, and I loved how that turned out, and so I had to make a little red truck version of it. So I just put the whole piece back together. I stuck the glass back inside the frame, and then I put the box back inside of the frame as well. It just popped right back in. And then I'm going to take some black buffalo check ribbon, tie a super simple bow, and I'm going to glue this right in the corner, and then I'm going to use the tails to frame out the frame. I thought this turned out super cute. I had contemplated putting it in the middle, but I didn't want the truck covered up, and I just thought this positioning of it was absolutely adorable. So I then took some twine and made another really simple bow, put that on top, and that is it. For this next project, you are going to grab one of these tree stakes from the Dollar Tree. Now, in a previous project, I tried using the front where I sanded off the glitter. It worked for the most part, but you could kind of still see the outlines of the candy canes and everything, and I wasn't able to get it completely smooth. So I tried using the back this time and tried seeing if I could get the stake off all in one piece by heating up the glue. It didn't exactly work the way that I wanted it to. The stake still snapped off, and I basically just went back and forth with a flathead screwdriver and my heat gun to try to get the glue all loosened up, and it worked for the most part, but you could still kind of see the glue underneath. I went through and sanded it down as much as I could, but in the end, you weren't really going to see it anyways. I used my Waverly chalk paint in white, and I added a good 3 coats to cover up that green. I painted the little trunk in my truffle chalk paint, and then I got these letters from Gio and Dan. I will have their Facebook and Instagram linked down below, and I'm spelling out the words merry and bright, just using an N for the and I'm going to paint them in my steel Waverly chalk paint, and then for the N, I'm going to paint it in my lacquer chalk paint. Now, I got this star from a previous project on one of my other tag signs. I went through and dabbed it with some of my steel chalk paint, went back over it with some of my Waverly chalk paint in white. I went through and distressed my tree in some more steel chalk paint. I wanted to give the edges of the tree a good just little pop so that it popped out and it wasn't so lost, gave it some more dimension. Now I'm going to take my letters, and I'm taking a piece of twine, and I'm going to start hot gluing my letters from the top of the letter to the twine. I wanted them to look like they were on a little banner, so I just started hot gluing each letter down. And then I just began arranging it the way that I wanted them, and I just hot glued them all down. I started with the sides so that they would stay in place, and then I just hot glued the twine to the back of the tree. I took 2 tumbling tower blocks that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I painted them in that same truffle chalk paint, and I hot glued one to the front and one to the back of the trunk to make a little stand.
The city is covered in snow tonight. Where did my love go? Santa, I'm waiting for him, but he's nowhere inside. And all of the
DIY, I am going to grab 2 of these little palette pieces that you can get from the Dollar Tree. What I'm going to do is give them both one good coat of the Waverly chalk paint and plaster, and I make sure to get all in between each little slat and the back pieces so that you aren't seeing any of that natural wood poking through. Once those are dry, I'm going to use some of my gel super glue and I am going to attach the 2 pieces together. Now, one option for this DIY is you can take these wired garland ties that you can get in a pack from the Dollar Tree, or you can go a different route, which is what I did. I got this big long garland from Hobby Lobby. I like that this one is thinner and skinnier than the Dollar Tree ones. So what I'm going to do is just cut off about 2-inch pieces, and I didn't count how many I did, but I probably, to guess, would say maybe 20 2-inch pieces, and I just grabbed a handful and I'm going to bunch them all together, and then I'm going to take some floral wire and I am just going to tie them all together at the top with that wire. We're going to do this 3 times, with each set having less pieces than the last. So we are making a little Christmas tree. So you want it fuller at the bottom, and then mediocre in the middle, and then fewer at the top. So you just want to do this 3 times, and then once you have all 3 of your pieces, you are going to start hot gluing them down. So I just hot glue my bottom set towards the bottom, and then my middle set, you're going to hot glue it so that the pieces are covering up the part where you twisted them all together. And then you're just going to do that same exact thing for the 3rd set. And then this is nice because all the pieces have wire in them. You can manipulate them to be exactly how you want them to be. Now I'm going to take one of these stem pieces that you can get in a pack from the Dollar Tree. This one specifically was from Hobby Lobby in a pack, but you can get them from both places. I just cut it down to the size that I wanted it with my miter shears, put a little hot glue on the top, and then pushed it into the bottom of my tree. Now I'm going to take some buffalo check ribbon and I'm going to make 2 loops, and I'm going to tie them together just like you would your shoes. And I am going to add this bow to the top of my tree. I just kind of manipulate the loops as I want them to however big I want my bow to be. And then, like I said, hot glue it to the top of my tree, and that is it for this DIY. DIY, you're going to need one of Dollar Tree's little square drawer cube things. You're going to take some scrapbook paper. The best way to do this is to cut it in strips of the correct size of all 4 sides, and you're just going to start gluing them down all around all 4 sides of the box, and then you can cut out a separate piece for the top. You don't need to worry about the bottom. Nobody's going to see the bottom. So just cover all 4 sides with your scrapbook paper of choice, and then cover the top as well. And after you've done that, I'm going to take this ribbon that I got from Michael's, and I'm going to tie it around the box, and I tied a double knot at the top. I'm going to take a pine stem that I got from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to cut it in half, and then I'm going to take these red berry ties that you can also get from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to make a little garland piece. I'm just basically going to twist them all together and then hot glue them to the tops of my little presents. And that is it for these cute little buffalo check presents. For this DIY, I'm going to take this little believe sign that you can pick up from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by removing the backing from it. I'm going to take some scrapbook paper that I got in a pack from Hobby Lobby. I chose this red and white snowflake one that I just thought was absolutely beautiful. I will trace the backing out onto the scrapbook paper and I will cut that out. And then I'm just going to use a trusty little glue stick to apply my scrapbook paper to the back. Now I'm going to take the front side of our believe sign and I am going to cover up the red on the word believe. I'm going to do it with about 3 coats of my Waverly chalk paint in white. I wanted this to, be white since the background is already red, and wanted the believe to pop out a little bit more from in front of that red scrapbook paper. So I just painted that white, and then I'm going to take a little silver bell, put a little hot glue where the eye is, and put my bell on top of the eye. I thought this was really fun and really cute. Gave it a little extra something for the sign. And then I'm just going to take some super glue and super glue the back to the front of the sign. And that's all you have to do for this one. It was really quick, really easy, and it only cost me, maybe $1.25, if that. DIY, I had a 2x2 piece of wood that I cut down into some blocks. You could also use Dollar Tree's unfinished blocks if you can find them. I wasn't able to at this point, so I just cut some down myself. I'm going to paint one of the blocks with my Waverly chalk paint in moss, one of them in my Waverly chalk paint in white, and the third one in my Waverly chalk paint in steel. And then I also grabbed one of these Dollar Tree wood trees, and I'm just also going to paint that in my Waverly chalk paint in moss. So I'm going to make these look like presents. So what I did was take an acrylic paint marker. This is actually an Arteza one, which I love. If you're ever looking for some good acrylic markers, I would highly recommend Arteza's. And I'm just going to draw some stripes on each side, and then on the top, I will draw a cross stripe where the stripes, meet in the middle, so that it looks like you've wrapped ribbon around your presents. And then I'll just stack my blocks on top of each other, just hot gluing them all down on top of each other. Then I will take this out to the garage, drill a hole in it big enough to fit a dowel from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to stain that dowel in my Waverly Wax and Antique, add some hot glue to the hole in the top present, and stick my dowel right inside that hole. Next, I'm just going to add some hot glue to the top of the dowel and add that tree onto my dowel. And then for a little extra support, I added some hot glue and some ribbon to the back just to make sure that that tree is going to stay in place. And then I just took some red ribbon that I had, tied another simple bow with it, added some hot glue onto the back, and placed it right on that top present against that dowel. And then lastly, I'm just going to add one of these stars that come in a pack from Dollar Tree to the top of my tree, and that is it for this DIY. And that's it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know which project was your favorite in the comments down below. If you've made it this far, Thank you. I know it was a long one, but you know, sometimes you need a good, fun crafting video to watch while you're crafting. So I hope that you guys love this one. Give it a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.